What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to the Winning Drive, the primetime edition. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, but except he's a national champion. Also, Marcus Myers joining us, and also my good friend and esteemed colleague, man, Jeff Howe, taking some time to join us here, which we appreciate on the primetime live stream. You guys know how it works. We'll try to address as many questions as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. The Longhorns are starting to build this portal class. Now we do have multiple commitments today for the Longhorns that we'll get to. Earlier today, you got the Raleek Brown commitment, the running back, and then you also got Zion Williams, who's a defensive tackle from LSU that also committed to the Longhorns via the portal. So something for the Longhorns to celebrate and discuss. We'll also talk about the upcoming pending announcement of Cam Coleman, which a lot of Longhorn fans are getting amped up about. So we'll get into that conversation too. All right, gentlemen, let's start with the commitments that the Longhorns got. We'll kind of work our way backwards here. Zion Williams, it is ironic. This was one of the top D tackles on Texas board a year or so ago, Jeff, and they missed out on him for whatever reason. And now, full circle, the transfer portal give it and it take it away. You end up getting one of the guys who you were targeting anyway, so you did have a previous relationship, and now you get them at least a year into a strength and conditioning program of a major Power 4 program.
And hopefully this is an over-the-ball guy that you can develop, and hopefully, I don't know what the portal is going to look like in 2027, but hopefully you can develop him and he can be a part of your rotation in Will Muschamp's second season as defensive coordinator. But no, I like this pickup. I just want to reiterate, this does not impact or you shouldn't read anything into how Texas feels about Josiah Sharma or Myron Charles with this pickup. I know they've got two guys that fit the big over the ball type. But basically what you're doing is in your rotation, you're replacing Cole Brevard and Travis Shaw with Ian Jafard and Zion Williams. If you want to look at it that way, kind of a 2-for-2 swap, that's probably the best way to look at it, because this does not say anything negative about Charles or Sharma.
Yep. Marcus, what are your thoughts? I agree with Jeff. That's a great way to put it, though.
I agree as well. You know, I think a lot of these situations are ways in which you can continue to build some depth. You know, while he hasn't had time on the field, he's already had time in a college program. And, you know, I know there were a number of guys that, you know, ultimately we were looking at for some of those positions in this high school recruiting class that ended up making different choices. And, you know, in my opinion, you're kind of upgrading from that, right? Because you have a guy that has, you know, some development already, and it gives you, you know, an opportunity for Will Muschamp to have some, you know, continued pieces to play with there. So I think this is one of the things that we had talked about on, you know, a number of shows in the past, especially around signing day, where you know, that over the center, you know, nose tackle, if you will, was something that was typically relatively easy to replace in the portal, and it looks like they've done just that. So, you know, very glad to see, you know, Zion Williams be able to join along with Ian Jafar, that, you know, was already in the boat a little bit earlier this week.
Yeah, I actually feel like they're a good position at D tackle. Like, I feel like depth-wise and talent-wise, experience-wise, I mean, you got Alex January now and Hero Canoe. You just brought in two big guys. Obviously, Zion Williams is more for depth, but Ian Jafar is going to contribute for you right away. Then you throw in, I mean, Justice Terry is kind of a hybrid going back and forth. No telling what Justice Terry is going to end up, but the young guys, Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles, like I said, I like where they are right now at D tackle. I think they're in a good place. Yeah. So that's we'll also get to some of the departures, but we'll talk about the commitments first. We talked about Raleek Brown. I think we got into it a lot, but any thoughts now kind of processing at least a foundational piece to start rebuilding the Texas run game around? You know, you'll have one of the most explosive running backs and most explosive weapons, if you will, more so coming out of the backfield in Raleek Brown. Marcus, what are your thoughts? I mean, you would have to face a guy like this. What are your thoughts about Raleek Brown and him as a contributor for Texas and how he's going to fit in?
Yeah, man, you know, it's one of those deals where it's always tough because the immediate comparison is to the guys that left the room, right? And, you know, for everything that Trey Wisner was in terms of his leadership and all of that, like, I think it's pretty hard to, you know, avoid saying that he's, you know, Raleek Brown is much more explosive. Pretty much any metric you look at, he's, you know, advanced in, past Wisner in those respects. And then even from a common opponent standpoint, I saw there was a lot of conversation kind of on social media of like, his best game was 250 yards or something against Colorado. And it's like, well, yeah, that's true. And, our guys got to play against Sam Houston State and UTEP. And what was the other one?
San Jose State.
Jose State, right? Mm-hmm. And didn't, put anything near that up. And then, they had a common opponent where, Arizona State played against Mississippi State. Raleek Brown put up 110 rushing yards, and I think CJ and Trey combined for 68. So there's, a lot of, things you like there. But I think, once you get beyond the comparison stuff, he's just a chess piece that Sark can use, someone that was, lacking from the offense this year, where you had someone, like a Jaden Blue the year prior, and he can move him around a lot. And I don't think he's going to be expected, to tote the load all himself. There's still likely another, larger back that they'll be relying upon, or even, a Derek Cooper or Christian Clark, if we can, can keep him in the fold. So I love the addition to the room. And I don't really look at it as, truly just like a afterthought, right? Like he's still a guy that I think any number of, colleges would have been happy to have. And I look at him more as a weapon than just, a true full-on running back, if you will.
Yeah. Jeff, let me ask you about your thoughts about adding another running back to the mix. What are the chances of that now with Texas adding another back, or are they going to depend on one of these young guys to step up even more? Everybody would like another a thumper, like if we were talking about a more physical back to kind of add to this run game. But what are the chances of being able to find that in the portal?
What Raleek Brown allows you to do, Rod, is allows you to be really picky with that second back you take. Mm-hmm. You just needed somebody. You needed that first domino to fall. And look, we can go down the couple targets that they had, a couple guys that didn't enter the portal and what have you. But to get Raleek Brown, I'm kind of with Warren, and Marcus put it a little more eloquently than I did. I never really compared one for one Raleek Brown and Trey Wisner, because to me, they're just different guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of look at it, okay, maybe the numbers are kind of similar, but to me, just play style, they're different. Trey Wisner is more of a 3-down back. I think Raleek Brown is a guy that Rod, this guy should allow you to bring the pony package back, because you can have 2-back personnel on the field, and you can motion him out, put him in the slot, get him out wide. And I think he can be effective on the perimeter in your screen game or running routes. I don't know how versed he is running the route tree, but that Texas route, that angle route that Jaden Blue ran, that Sark loved, that's probably coming back in the offense now. So to me, they're just different guys. I think Texas, there are going to be some guys that fit the mold of what they want that are probably in the portal now. I tend to think Texas will wait and see kind of what options emerge maybe this weekend. And then I would think maybe early part of next week they go attack it and try to get somebody else. But I'll say this too. Derek Cooper's going to be a factor in this running back mix. And my hope is that you kind of we saw Bijan do it, even to Tom Herman's detriment. Like most of the really good freshman running backs we see at Texas, it may take them a little bit early in the season, but by the midpoint of the season, the really good ones are usually up and running. So I know they want a second portal back, but let's not lose sight of the fact that Derek Cooper's probably going to be a really big piece of this run game at some point this year.
Absolutely. I feel like there are like 3 freshmen that you can say that with. Now, looking at the current roster and what they need and what you can anticipate will be available in the portal, Jermaine Bishop's probably one of those guys that you're like, man, I think they could use some help from him right away at wide receiver. No matter what they get, Cam Coleman or whatever, we should see. Well, in the Cam Coleman thing, and we'll talk about that. Tyler Atkinson at linebacker, depending on what happens at linebacker, it's like, hey, that's a guy. If you watch the film, you go, well, he can contribute right away. But as the season goes on, like you said, Jeff, that guy could end up becoming a major contributor for you. I think there are a few guys in that class that Texas should try to expedite and speed up their developmental curve a little bit so that they can help you out right. They can be a part of the rotation and a part of the depth of that position.
Yeah, so I know we talked about Tyler Atkinson and some of those guys. I know he's going to be the youngest guy of your enrollees, but with Zeno Moslow hitting the portal, if he does end up processing into the portal and is on the open market, you're going to need some kind of number of snaps from Richard Wesley as a true freshman. And again, this is Zena's announced his intentions to go in the portal. We'll see if he makes it in there. If he does, then my kind of sleeper going into the year, Smith the Robo, you went from sleeper to you gotta be able to contribute something right off the bat. And the little bit we saw, I really like what we saw from him. But that's just where you are now. I mean, you're gonna have some developmental guys on the roster, but man, if you're in year 2, year 3, you're going to have to be a guy that gives this team something, because I'm telling you, like, I know I see people in the chat and they're like, oh, well, I'm kind of depressed. It's disheartening. Well, Texas, trust me, Texas isn't the only roster in the country that's going to look like this when it gets started. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's the reality. I mean, Ohio State and Georgia and Notre Dame, and there's a lot of schools dealing with some of the same stuff. And I think you're going to go from, your 85 scholarships to, Marcus, we've talked about it a lot this week, but it really is looking like you're going to be about, because of rev share, you're going to have probably 50-ish guys that in some way, shape, or form are getting all your rev share. And then the rest of that roster from 51 to 105, it's going to be developmental guys and just high churn portions of your roster.
Yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, like it's fortunate and unfortunate, right? Like it's one of those deals where, as things move, and Jeff, we've talked about this at times, like Texas has been a little slower to adapt, but I think they're trying to kind of move with the times. You have to adjust with really what the environment is. And so to your point, we've looked at some different really cool graphics that some different sites out there have that kind of show this stuff, right? And it's not just Texas, it is happening all over the country. You see 5-star wide receiver, 5-star whatever freshman player from other places jumping in the portal as well. And what it is a lot of these schools are kind of making this determination of, hey, we might have paid a lot to get some of these guys, and as things are moving in a different direction, you now have to make sure that you have guys that are ready to go. And so to your point, it's going to be a lot more of that 50-ish players that are ready to go. And it's unfortunate because Rod and I talked about this some, I think maybe yesterday, where we were just kind of talking through the concept of like, there's not going to be a ton of lifetime Longhorn or lifetime whatever at any school really these days. It'll be more rare than it is common, and it's unfortunate for the purists of the game and those of us that truly love the pageantry. And at the same time, this is what you got. Right, until there are some more guardrails put around this thing, some of it gets reined in a bit. This is what we're looking at, and it's one of those things where you can't really fault anybody at this point, because it's kind of what the NCAA is allowed. And we know they've always been reactionary and not had a ton of teeth to things, and so it's the environment we got. It's the one that we have to adapt to. It doesn't mean that you have to like it, but players and teams alike, like they're all having to make decisions on what is best for them. And you hope that everyone is making the right choice, but you just won't know. You just won't know for a little while.
To your point, West Texas at 8 now players that they've gotten in the portal. Did Zion Williams make 8 players, or was that 7?
Zion makes 8.
Zion he made 8? Okay, I thought it was like, I knew you were around the number. And you've had, was it 22, 23 guys that have hit the transfer portal? So that number is bothering Longhorn fans. To your point, Marcus, Notre Dame fans are freaking out because they haven't gotten any players via the portal, and they've had like 15 guys leave. Mm-hmm. And Michigan's had 22 players departed with only 5 guys come back. But some of those guys never officially may have gotten in the portal because of, the coaching situation, whatever. But to your point, it is happening to a lot of different programs around. I think Georgia's Westtown looked at 11 players departed, 4 players coming in.
Ohio State's dealing with it big time.
Yeah, so it is. Everybody's got their own level of it right now, but I get why Longhorns fans are freaking out, and we'll talk about that in just a second because we got some questions. But let's thank our lead sponsor first before we move on. There's our friends over at South Point Dodge. We appreciate them, and you will as well. There's nothing like Texas football, and nothing runs like a Ram. South Point Dodge is Austin's Ram headquarters. And right now, folks, is a great time for you to get huge savings and great deals on a lot of great automobiles over at South Point Dodge. Ram trucks. How about this? You can get huge savings on Jeep SUVs plus exclusive perks for On Texas Football listeners. 90 days to make your first payment, and they're going to ship that fantastic ride to you wherever you are in the great state of Texas or beyond. And right now, they have over 600 vehicles in stock. So whether you need a weekend warrior or a workhorse, our friends over at South Point Dodge have you covered. So whether you need a car, a truck, an SUV, you need a trade-in, something new, something used, our friends over at South Point Dodge pride themselves on being Austin's automotive everything. Go see them off of I-35 in South Austin, or make it easy on yourself and go online at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. We appreciate them for sponsoring our Thursday night live stream. Let's get to
one question real quick, because I think this sums up Antoine's comment right here. I think sums up Antoine's seeing the forest through the trees right here. It says 90% of the transfer portal is teams letting guys they overpaid leave for other teams so they can overpay the players the other teams are letting leave. It's just one big musical chairs of mediocrity. Antoine, I wouldn't call it musical chairs of mediocrity, but yes, and it's not in every case, but I think some of the freshmen that are departing Texas are guys that got a pretty nice bag as incoming recruits, and that bag was not going to be nearly as big, or it was just flat out not going to exist in 2026 because of rev share and your roster construction has changed. So, yeah, I think that's where you're seeing it. And CJ has used the term, hey, Texas wants the money to be on the grass. They want the money they're spending to be on the field. That's why we're talking about roster sizes shrinking the way they are. It's not shrinking in terms of number, but just in terms of like the guys that are your core guys that are actually going to play. You're just not going to have a lot of developmental depth. And that's just, that's one of the deals. And, somebody said we're losing 4- and 5-star guys. Everybody else's guys are low-level guys. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody. How many balls did Jamie French catch this year? How much did Zeno Mozolo play? How much did Nate Kibble or Daniel Cruz? These guys were really good prospects, but Texas needs guys in the portal that are going to help them win games in 2026. You can't afford to look 2-3 years down the road. You've got to look at the next 12 months at what's going to make this program better. I know that might sound short-sighted, but that's the reality of it. You cannot afford to look beyond 2026. You got to take care of this year's roster. And then once you get done, then you go into the next portal and try to get ready for 27. That's just the way it's going right now.
2 quick things, Jeff. One, and Antoine said it in the chat, that was a Clay Travis tweet, so don't attribute the mediocrity portion of it to Antoine. That was our buddy Clay Travis that put a little extra sauce at the end. Secondly, 5 stars are leaving other places. Quincy Porter, freshman 5-star at Ohio State, is in the portal. So, again, this is not something that is solely to us. I think I said this yesterday with Rod as well. For anybody that is only watching in the evenings. If you go back and look at Alabama's 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 recruiting classes at wide receiver, every single one of them has hit the portal. It feels like it's just us because we're in our Longhorn bubble, right? And obviously we care the most about us, but it is a widespread thing. And so you're right. It's this churn that's happening. And do I like it? Absolutely not.
No.
In a lot of ways, but it's what everybody's now having to adapt to. And it's not just us. And I'm not pointing that out to suggest it to make anybody feel better. I'm just trying to, make sure that we keep some proper perspective here.
It's interesting because 2 of the things that Jeff mentioned about, they want the money on the field, right? That's kind of CJ's term. And it's a good one, kind of to give Longhorn fans the actual kind of visual of the mentality. Hey, money's on the field. They're not paying for guys to sit on the bench. You know what that sounds like? The NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Literally the NFL. Remember the NFL, if you're making money, you play. Because you know who's going to say? The owner's going to come down and tell the head coach and the GM, hey, I'm paying a lot of money for that guy, and I don't want to see him on the bench.
Yeah.
So play him. It's just that everybody knows it happened too. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the, whatever you're talking about, the meritocracy be damned. I'm paying this guy a lot of money. Now, if he ain't good, let's cut him so I ain't got to pay him. All right. Then we'll let somebody come play the position. But other than that, money plays. Everybody know that in the league. Money plays.
Right.
And that's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like the league. Well, money cannot sit on the bench. That's why these quarterbacks is like, yeah, they can. Let's sit them for a year and let them develop a first round guy. And the owner at one point goes, dude, he got to play. He's making more money than anybody else. Like 90% of the team. He got to play. Got to play. And that's all this pressure comes down from the play. That reminds me of the league. And one thing they also tell you about the league. The league is not a developmental league. They don't develop talent. Okay. You got to come there ready. That's not really what they do. If you want to be developed, you got to be on a practice squad, and you better develop really fast because they're drafting guys that are ready to go right now. Like that's why they said quarterbacks are suffering in the league because they don't really invest in development. You got to come there already to a certain degree developed, and that's kind of where's the development happening in college football now? Because nobody wants to invest in development anymore. Guys ain't gonna stick around to be developed unless you're gonna pay them to be developed, and they're not gonna pay you to be developed unless you end up being on the field, right? It's like where is the development going to happen? Is it all going to happen at Indiana? Like, I don't know. Where's the development in college football? Like, it's interesting that teams don't want to pay for that and invest in that. And I totally agree. By the way, I totally agree. You got to get the money on the field. But now you end up just having to go to the portal to get guys, and you're going to divest in traditional recruiting because that's more developmental. And then, like you said, it's only going to be 5-6 guys per recruiting cycle. Those are our money guys, and we'll invest in them. Those are our investments. Everybody else, you're just a churn guy.
Yes, you had the numbers on this. I heard you on one of the shows this week. What's the percentage of like starters of the remaining teams in the CFP? Right, like the last 4, it's like everybody
for
30, 40, 50%. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I can put it up right now for you. Yeah, it's actually startling. By the way, Texas was at 17%, but here is here it is right here. Ohio State's not left. Sorry, Miami is at 53%. Indiana is at 65%. Ole Miss is at 66%, and Oregon is at 42%.
So again, I don't think any of the three of us are saying if we had our druthers, we wouldn't want guys to get developed. But I mean, you're seeing the proof is in the pudding. The teams that are left, those guys aren't people they developed. They went and plucked them from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the reality of it. There's no doubt. And I think Indiana wanted the older guys too. They went with older right. Guys in the four. They didn't want Zion. They're like, no. I want a guy like their starting offense is average age is like 22 years old. So they're like, no, we want old veteran guys. So I ain't even really got to teach them the game. I ain't trying to do that. Like I ain't got time for that to teach you the game conceptually. So I'm just gonna get a guy that already understands the game conceptually because he's a veteran player. He's seen a lot of snaps, and then the way the terminology is not an issue. I ain't got to teach him about leverage. I ain't got to teach him about situational football. I just got to make sure he understands the scheme.
Yeah.
And then he'll like you said, we need to play right away. He's much more likely to be able to make a major impact right away because he's a veterans player. It's changing drastically. I agree. I don't know how much you invest in development anymore. I'm trying to figure that out. What's your investment in development?
I saw somebody in the chat say, so we're going to take 6 or 7 man classes in recruiting. No, but what you are going to have, I think, and I think it was the seeds of this were planted with Texas in this 26 cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have that group of like maybe 8 to 12 guys, maybe a few less on the low end, maybe a few more on the high end, depending on what your class looks like. You'll have those like blue chip guys that are getting money, but they better produce right away. And then you're going to fill the class out. The last 15-ish guys are going to be guys that are getting little to no rev share and are going to be your developmental guys. And if they end up being starters for you at some point, great. It's found money. If not, those are high churn positions anyway, and you'll just get somebody in the next year. So until we get a different system, I think that's where this thing is going. And we talked about this too, guys. And this is the sad. Everybody wants like somebody to end up being the good guy in this. But Rod,
or the bad guy.
Yeah, I mentioned this last night. If you're a pro wrestling fan, there are baby faces and heels. Baby faces are the good guys, and heels are the bad guys. That's how you want your matches. There are no baby faces here. This is a heel program. Everybody's the bad guy here. Everybody's looking out for themselves, and they should be. And just like we talk about, hey, players got to make tough decisions on what you're going to do. Well, unfortunately, coaches have to make tough decisions too. And that may mean, hey, there's this freshman that we recruited that we really like, that we made this 1-year promise. Well, sorry, that money's not going to be there year 2 because we got to we're not sure where you are in your development right now. You would like to make that decision that early. But Rod, you mentioned the NFL. It's just you're accelerating that timeline a whole heck of a lot. Whereas, in year 3, 4, you can make that decision on, hey, we're going to extend that first round pick, give him that 5th year. We're going to exercise that 5th year option, or that 2nd, 3rd round pick. We're going to exercise and give him that 4th year of that contract, and we're going to guarantee it. Now you're doing that after a year. That's just because of the nature of the beast in college football and how rapidly things go.
Well, think about how fast this has shifted. This time last year, this wasn't as big of a thing, right? Like it was starting a little bit, but like this year, it's a bit more stark, I think, than it was last year. And as it moves on, everybody's going to recognize it, right? It's not going to be a thing that is a surprise anymore. And Rod and I have talked about this before. These guys are on 1-year deals. Like this is something that is going to continue to pop up until something changes in the structure of college football as a whole. And it's unfortunate, for the game that we loved as the way it was. But this is what it is now, man. And we're all just having to adjust on the fly.
All right. We'll get. Also, we did have another departure. We didn't talk about. I think you brought up Zena, and Jamie French was the other departure today.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with these things, like you just don't know how it's actually going to end up getting resolved. Like there's still a outside chance for any number of the guys to potentially come back, depending on when they actually officially go in the portal, as opposed to it being announced. So and I don't say that to, try to raise hope on any one particular person, but I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Sorry, Robert, to back up Marcus's point, some of these guys, and this has been the case with a few guys, some of these guys are making decisions to go into the portal without talking to the position coach or even the coordinator. So it's like, okay, hey, I saw you want to go to the portal. Hey, let's slow this down a little bit. Let's have a conversation. I know that's where things are at with Bo Barnes. There's no real update there. And look, Zena Moselo's a guy Texas doesn't want to lose. Like he's going to play. I think he played over 200 snaps this year. That number's going to go up this year. So he's definitely a guy that they don't want to lose.
Yeah. No, they started when Zena started getting more snaps than like Colton Bostic, you knew they liked him because they jumped him ahead. They were like, no, we like this. And he was playing early on last season too, sub packages. So no, they like him. We'll get into that. There is some Zena news to be monitoring, actually, as Jeff referenced as well. All right, we'll get to your questions. Let's get to the super chats, and then we'll dive into some other topics. I got some other random rumors out there about Cam Coleman that I want to get you guys' thoughts on. It might come up in the chat. We'll get to that too. But Jeff's up first. Jeff, thank you for the super chat. Says, are we going to get an offensive lineman, power back, and linebackers? This is why I love Jeff. Jeff don't get distracted, right? Everybody distracted by like the Cam Coleman talk and the commitments we just got and departures. No, just like, listen, our priorities were O-line, running back, and now we need linebacker. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this damn thing. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the super chat. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Oh, our Jeff. All right. What are your thoughts about O-line, power back, and linebacker? What are the updates on potential targets there for the Longhorns?
No, see, Sark's going to break out this new offense where you only have 3 offensive linemen on the field and you just litter it with skill guys. No. The thing with the offensive line is we are starting to hear of some names. Actually, there was a surprise visitor today on campus. Dylan Sikorsky, the Oregon State transfer, was on campus. There's a couple other names that we've heard. I think, that first, it's interesting for what Texas needs. And again, I'm not excusing it because you lost out on your top 2 offensive line targets. Like phase 1 of portal recruiting on the offensive line did not go well.
No.
But, that first wave of portal guys, it's going to be primarily tackles because those guys are really hard to find and those guys are going to be more expensive. So I think now that the tackles are starting to come off the board, and the thing with tackles, well, why doesn't Texas go get a tackle? Well, the top end tackles in the portal, for the most part, they want to play left tackle. Yep. And they're demanding left tackle money. And Texas has a really good left tackle who's going to probably take up a pretty decent chunk of the available money with Trevor Gooseby. So I think now that we're getting into this second weekend, I think now you're looking at it and saying, okay, there are going to be interior offensive linemen available. And part of the equation is, how does Connor Robertson factor into this? Because if you get him back, now you're saying, okay, we don't need a legit center, but can we maybe take a third guy that might take a little less, a significantly less maybe rev share to basically be an experienced guy who can be a swing guy. He could be maybe our third guard, backup center, whatever. So yeah, I think they're getting into phase 2 of recruiting. Like I said, with the second back to go with Raleek Brown, I think they're going to be patient at this point, because that third position, Jeff, linebacker, that's one they got to get figured out. And getting Bo Barnes to stay out of the portal is only part of it. I think they've got to come out of this cycle. And Marcus, you know how physical that position is. Oh, yeah. And then you crank it up a little bit because you're in the SEC. It's the college football's ultimate line of scrimmage league. I think you're going to need to come out of this portal cycle with 2 starting level off-ball linebackers. And similar to running back, that's going to put that buffer. Sorry, Marcus, that's going to put that buffer between Tyler Atkinson and the field. Where if Tyler Atkinson by mid-year ends up being one of your 3 best linebackers, then great, he beat out other guys. I just don't want to have to be like, hey, young buck, sink or swim.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Jeff. And just to add to that point, that's the only reason I'm saying, depending on, regardless of where you put him on the scale of how you would rank that type of guy, you still probably need another power back, because you don't want to have to solely rely on your true freshman, because those guys are getting banged up too, right? Obviously, linebackers are crashing into people every play. Well, who are the linebackers trying to hit more times than not? The running back. So, I mean, you absolutely need to have depth in those spaces. And I'm not saying just, the old like NFL term of a camp body, right? But a version of it in that, like, you have to have something there. Injuries happen, and, knock on wood, but like, we've been very blessed if you really think about it, those last couple of years on, kind of avoiding the injury bug. But that's not something that you can really prevent in a high collision sport like this. And so you absolutely are going to have, some guys that you can go in there and be able to rely on and count on to get reps, which is why, when we heard yesterday about Bo Barnes, that one for me was the shot across the bow, because he was one of those guys that I was expecting by season's end to really be factoring into that rotation and having an opportunity to step up, whether that was just through his own play or whether that was because of, injury or whatever, may occur throughout the season. I mean, you're in the SEC, and not to mention, once again, we're at 9 SEC games now, not 8. So all these things factor in. We have 1 bye this coming season, not 2. The bye is earlier in the year. So all of these things, factor in with one another as you're looking at how this team continues to get rounded out.
And I'll just add too, Marcus, on the non-conference schedule, you have Ohio State game 2, but game 1 and game 3, Texas State and UTSA both won bowl games, both had winning records. So there's no Sam Houston on the schedule this year.
Yeah.
Jeff also adds portal sucks. Just wants us to know that as well. Thank you, Jeff.
Not fun. Not fun.
It's like I said, it was fun. Some parts of it are fun, and then I think it's a roller coaster of emotion. Some of it's really fun. Like, if you get Cam Coleman, y'all gonna be like, "This was amazing. This is a great portal cycle. Great job, Sark. Sark's amazing. Sark's a man." And if they don't, they'll be like, "Man, Sark sucks. Man, what is going on here? We're terrible." So it's a roller coaster of emotion, dude. That's all it is, right? So I get it. And you know what? I will say it has made college football more exciting, especially the off season. But like I said, exciting stuff is not always healthy for you. You know what I mean? And this is healthy for the sport.
I'm starting to look at portal season like tax season. Like, the process of getting there, it's like, man, I got knots in my stomach. I don't like where it's going. It's maybe looking good. Now it's not looking good. But hopefully at the end, when you get to the end process, if Uncle Sam has to give me some money back and maybe give me back more money than I thought, then it's good. If I got to give Uncle Sam money, the whole process sucks. So that's kind of how I'm starting to look at the portal.
Yeah, it's very binary. Not enough room for the gray, very black and white. All right, Sailor Joe here with a super chat. Thank you, Sailor Joe. He said, shouldn't matter, but I think the one thing that bothers me is all the chatter online about how now Texas has a max exodus and we can't pay players. Yes, the narrative. Thank you, Sailor Joe. I'm glad you pointed that out. I think the narrative, I'm not sure. I do think it has, for Texas, it's kind of hurt them a little bit, probably, because they are being used at times for leverage in negotiations, because everybody know Texas got money. It also, I think, hurts them sometimes in negotiations because people are like, what you mean? They consider everything a low ball figure from Texas.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, you Texas. You got so much money. What did Ray McCombs once say? They got more money than anybody except the Catholic Church. Right? He's like, the narrative has always been Texas got major money. So this is why Tech has done a good job, because Tech wanted to push that narrative. They wanted that to be the narrative, like, no, we got more money and we are overpaid. And they do, and it works. It aligns with the perception. And Texas, the perception's always been Texas got a ton of money, baby. They got a printing press. They printing money down there. Texas do got a lot of money. We know that. But they don't overpay for players like Tech has openly said, no, we do and we will. Yeah. And so the perception is not aligning with the reality for a lot. And I do think it has hurt them a little bit in negotiations for retention and negotiations with players coming in, because and they've probably been used for leverage too in negotiations as well, because anytime Texas brings you in, it ups your value if Texas wants shit, period. So I think you're right about that, Sailor Joe. This is Texas. I mean, these are first world problems. Everybody think you got money and you got money. So I'm not more money, more problems, as somebody once said. So I
think a key though there, Rod, is really honing in the word that you used of narrative, right? Because there's two sides of it. There's the narrative that's going on amongst the players, agents, the ones that are actually doing the movement. And then there's the narrative amongst the fans, the social media, like basically the people that really have no clue, right? Like, and I don't say that disparagingly. I just mean more times than not, I've said this several times, I'll probably continue to say it. More times than not, a lot of the numbers you hear reported are inflated to all get out. You ask one person over here, it's this number. You ask another person over here, it's on the other side of the spectrum. More than likely, it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? And it's not like the NFL in that you're actually going to find out, right? Like there's not that transparency, and so there's this continued conversation around, well, we missed out on this guy for this reason, and it might have been for another reason. There's been instances that we've heard about where we actually offered more, and the guy chose not to come, and I think in some of those instances, it's just been they had a comfort level maybe where they were at. Like I know everybody talked about the Michigan O lineman. Well, those guys have played in the Big Ten. Like ultimately, maybe they just felt better where they're at in that space and in that environment, and were willing to, hear the new coaching staff out, right? Like at the end of the day, you're never truly going to know, but you're spot on. Like it's a narrative nonetheless. And at times it does hurt us, in the actual acquisition process. And then other times it's just noise that's out there that nobody can prove one way or the other.
That's that last part, Marcus. Longhorn fans, listen to me. I'm going to give you a message right now, okay? If there's one thing that will help you get through portal season, identify the rage bait and avoid it. Don't take the bait. And like CB, I know you're in the chat, and CB, I love you, but CB, it hurts my heart when I see you take the bait, right? If I see CB quote tweeting somebody and it's the middle finger emoji, I'm like, oh, CB, you're taking the bait. Just understand when you're dealing with Aggies and Sooners, trying to understand where they are coming from, you're applying logic to illogical situations. I saw an Oklahoma fan, no joke, in our mentions, our OTF mentions on the Twitter machine, talking about, Raleek Brown only scored 4 touchdowns. How's that helping you? Well, that's 4 more touchdowns than Oklahoma scored the last 2 years against Texas. So I'd say the Longhorns are off to a pretty good start. So just take a deep breath. Don't take the rage bait, and the portal process will be much more palatable.
And the last one I'll add to that, Jeff, sometimes this is also stuff coming from national analysts that have never seen any of these guys up close and personal. I told Rod this the other day. I saw a well-known national analyst put out on Twitter that the addition of Wisner to Florida State's running back room made them a very physically imposing unit. We can call Trey any number of things. He's not physically imposing, right? That's just his stature. But you have a guy that has a very well-known following with thousands upon thousands of people that if they don't know or they don't have somebody else tell them, they're going to take that and run with it. So like Jeff said, man, try to wade through the noise as best you can. I got a good friend that like, she messages me all the time. And every time I'm like, log off, just log off. You don't know if it's true. Some of it's not. I can actually tell you this one's not, but it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. Don't log off. Just come to OTF.
log off of Twitter. Come to OTF.
I'm just kidding. There you go. Boom. There you go. Yes. There you go. $1. There you go. Thank you. That's why Matthew's the best in the business. All right. And I know Jeff is going to be jumping out soon. Jeff, you got to go. Jump on out, brother. And then
I will hang out for a little bit because I gotta send a text here to figure out what we're doing. So I may be hanging out for a little bit.
All right, you just hang. Whenever you got a jet, do your thing, brother. All right, DC Mountain Lion, we appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Says, hey boys, how will this portal window impact 2027 high school recruiting? Should we expect a smaller class due to limited rev share? As usual, OTF is providing the best Texas content, period. Thank you. Yeah, I will say this. We have kind of talked about it, and I think Jeff would obviously be more knowledgeable about it than myself. That you probably saw a little bit of it, a preview of it with the 2026 recruiting class, where it top heavy would probably be the best way to describe it in terms of rev share investment and NIL investment. And those are kind of the guys that you invest in, and anticipating a lot of that class. What do you guys say? At least half of it is going to churn out. It's going to churn out.
Yeah,
you can't help it. Ain't nothing you could do about it. Looking at and why would you overpay for those guys and pay for them when you know they're leaving anyway? Just because you can't possibly count on all those guys to be essentially increased every year, because that's what's happening. When you bring that guy to high school and you get, I guarantee that second year they're going, yeah, we're gonna reduce your pay just so you know, or we're gonna keep you right at where you are. And they're going, well, I thought I was gonna get paid more. It's like, nah, that's not where you're not contributing enough for us to justify that investment. And that's why you got guys who are like, you know what, some other school are investing in me, and they're right, they will, where Texas potentially won't invest.
And the bonus is, if you miss it in high school recruiting, well, okay, I'll just go get it in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Just fill a short-term need. I mean, that's. I think the other thing too is we need to stop pretending that loyalty has anything to do with any of this. It is, Marcus, I don't want to say it's purely transactional, but that scale has tipped to where the transactional part is far outweighing like the loyalty part.
Yeah. It's getting there, but it again, for everybody involved, like this was the unintended and unexpected consequence of players starting to get paid in the fashion that they did, right? Like it truly opened up like the Wild Wild West. It hasn't fully been reined in. The BBs aren't in the box, right? And it's what we got, man. Like it's not ideal. And again, like to some degree, I still prefer like me and Rod's version of ball, right? Where you had some expectation of who was going to be where every year. You knew some guys really were going to actually get to develop and sit, but we're in a different environment. So, to the question of the super chat, it's just going to shift. Like you're not going to pay as many guys top dollar. And that's going to be apparent. And that's going to be apparent in a lot of places. It's not just going to be, here in Austin.
Yeah. As we pointed out earlier, DC Mountain Lion, the lowest percentage of starts by transfers left in the college ball playoff for teams is 42%, I think, by Oregon. And so that's going to become more the norm, especially looking with all this turnover that you're seeing. And thank you for the compliment, DC Mountain Lion. We appreciate it. All right, moving on. Hook'em 409. Thank you for the super chat. So it sounds like it's going to become that much more rare for a kid to be good enough to go straight from high school to D1. Development sounds like it will fall to the shoulders of D2 coaches. You think? All right, Jeff, thank you for your contribution.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
See y'all.
Now joining us, Jerry Hamilton. We'll just throw this question right at Jerry. Actually, kind of
man.
It's like a perfect Jerry Hamilton question here.
Look, we talked about this a little bit on another show, but we're definitely headed towards A-ball, AA, AAA, and Major League Baseball. I mean, we're going to have a lot of athletes that were lower D1 players that are going to end up getting kicked to D2 to start their college careers. I think as less high school players are signed, I think that's the only option. So we're going to start to follow that. All right, D2 is A-ball. You get called up to AA, to a really good G5. Maybe you get called up to AAA, which is your lower P4s. And if you're really, really good in AA, you're going to get called up to the majors.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's where we're headed with all, and I felt like this could happen, but I really do feel like that's where we're headed with all this long term, because if we start going to smaller NIL rosters at some of the major schools, you're kicking 20 down to start.
Agreed.
And if there's 15 schools, 20 schools doing that, you're kicking 400, 300, 400 kids down. So there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think high school recruiting for your blue bloods and your major universities, I think it's going to come down to those very cream of the crop guys. And wouldn't you like to be those guys in high school in the future years? Because you have more leverage than ever.
Yeah.
When these colleges, major colleges, start signing less high school prospects in a class.
Oh man, that's fascinating. It really is. Like, talk about a domino effect.
Hey, by the way, Rod, Marcus, I don't know if you ever got into my soapbox, but an international former pro basketball player was signed to Washington State as a tight end today.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've been supporting Jerry's been on this soapbox. Honestly, before we started talking about all this, I'll say Jerry has mentioned this international movement, and Texas should be one of the teams investing in scouting talent internationally for, I don't know, about a year or so. I've heard you mention this randomly. I think now you become more and more, you become more of an advocate of it.
Especially if you're going to sign less high school prospects, right? And you're going to go down to a smaller scholarship, NIL scholarship, you're going to need developmental guys still in your program. I would really look internationally, and I've been saying this, and I'd see if I could catch lightning in a bottle with 2 or 3, 4 kids if you sign 10. Because there's some hellacious athletes that eventually are going to start getting recruited to college football and developed. And I'm interested to see who starts making the moves first. It's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's good stuff, Jared. All right. Before we get back to the super chats here, let's thank some more of our sponsors for tonight. Let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. We appreciate Von Lane, and you will as well. They do a great job of making sure you get from point A to point B in the most luxurious fashion possible. Fall, of course, we know that now that the holidays are over, it's time to get back to work. So your work calendars and all your conferences and meetings, you got to get back to all that stuff. Time to get back to business. And if you're still flying short routes or driving between those stops, it can be a bit exhausting, right? Dealing with airport delays and the general stress of TSA and the airport experience, or driving yourself and dealing with road rage and traffic. Leave it to our friends over at Von Lane. They offer first-class travel experience on the ground. You board in minutes at a private hotel terminal, selling to one of just 22 oversized leather seats, and enjoy complimentary Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, and hot towel service on every trip. You also get complimentary meals on select departures. And right now, they're upgrading their fleet. This is fantastic, actually. Upgrading their fleet with Starlink internet access across all of their buses, folks, making complimentary Wi-Fi even more reliable and faster. Perfect for staying connected on the way to meetings and conferences. Right now, Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, and Knoxville. And if you're traveling with a team, you can charter your own Von Lane, designing the trip from pickup to drop off. And right now, if it's your first time riding with Von Lane, you can use the code OTF26 at checkout at vonlane.com, and you'll get $20 off your first trip with Von Lane. That's vonlane.com. Use the code OTF26 at checkout to receive $20 off your first trip. That's Von Lane, your private jet on wheels. Thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane. Also, thank you to our friends over at Hayes City Store, because they also are sponsoring our Thursday night live stream. We appreciate them. I've been a big fan of Hayes City Store for a long time. I've been going to Hayes City Store with my wife and now my little girl for the last 2 years. It's one of our regular kind of weekend places to hang out. They do scratch-made comfort food. It's great. They've got famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts, all of it made from scratch. They also have live music 6 nights a week with 50 beers on tap. Ice cold long necks and those margaritas are great. I would recommend them. Also 11 TVs in the Ice House. That's where we always eat at. It's perfect for game days, for college football, for the NFL. They even have brunch served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Sunday. Hayes City Store is also dog friendly. It's kid friendly. They got a big tree net that the kids can run around on. Plenty of space for the kids to run around, for the dogs to hang out, for you to bring the entire family. So join the folks out at Hayes City Store. Check them out at HayesCityStoreTX.com. That's HayesCityStoreTX.com. Hayes City Store. It's uniquely Texas. Thank you very much to our friends at Hayes City Store. Let's get back to the super chats here. This is a conversation that I think a lot of folks have been waiting for us to have. How about this one from Guy? He says, do you know about when Cam is expected to make a decision? Jerry?
I don't know a certain day. Look, I think we're waiting to see on Bama what happens there. Tech obviously has made the 3 visits. Bama's in it on as well. I think that will be it for him. When that happens, I'll be shocked if it carries in the next week. I just don't think it'll carry in the next week unless another visit's added, but we're not expecting that right now.
All right. Marcus, how bad do you want Cam Coleman?
I mean, it would be great to have him, right? I'm not fully in the camp of like you have to have him or bust. I think you get him, he unlocks plenty of the offense. And we can talk about all kinds of, permutations of the offense for days if he's into the fold. If we don't get him, I'm not going to lose my mind because initially I never thought it was even a possibility. So it would be great for the offense, and I think it would add a lot. But, I think as we've said time and time again, a lot of it won't matter if we don't get the offensive line shored up too. So I think it would be a great acquisition. He's a great talent. But, how bad do I want him? I mean, it don't make me no matter mind either way.
I totally agree about the O-line, of course. I'd rather have the O-line. But I will say he does have unique abilities at the catch point that'll help you. Because one of the things that Arch does really well, because you had a bad O-line, guys heard me bang this drum all season long, the scramble drill. Like, he's really good at it.
Yep.
He's averaging over 11 yards per attempt when throwing the football in the scramble drill against powerful opponents this year. Like, he's been really good in it. One of the best in the country. Cam Coleman would make him so much better.
He's great in the red zone. Red zone. Yeah.
Oh, red zone. It's great for. I ain't even talking about the red zone. That's another element too. But yes, great because he contested catchability he may be the best in the country at contested catches. That's what, if you want to look at the X-Man ability of Cam Coleman, contested catches, whether it be downfield or an intermediate, red zone is good when there are 2 markers. I'd take him. I don't know if I'd take anybody above him in terms of, even Jeremiah Smith is probably him and Jeremiah Smith right there. And Jeremiah Smith, he's good at it too. Like, he's really good.
I'm just saying, even killed about it. That way, if it doesn't happen, cool. And if it does, we'll be on some videos, and it'll be you'll get a different side of me. But for now,
hey, Rod, let me ask you this, because he is getting the lion's share of the attention, right? And we get it, but DeAndre Moore gone, Parker Livingston gone. A little north, not too far north. A little north.
Too far.
Amy French gone.
Yeah.
What about Trey Richardson from Vanderbilt, who's expected to visit this weekend? And it's not an either or. What does that speed do? Because I think there's a conversation we're missing at wide receiver right now too, with the departures and the possibility with Trey Richardson's visiting. See where it goes this weekend. The possibility of adding take the top of the defense off from the slot position. What does that do for Arch Manning in the offense?
I've heard some people try to kind of like, Trey Richardson wouldn't make it. Go look at his last 4 games this season. Take a look at his last 4 games.
Trending, huh?
Some 75-yard touchdowns on there. Some 7-8 catch games in there, multiple 100-yard games. He's a bad dude, man. He's a bad dude.
Yeah. You're running past multiple SEC defenders on every team.
But Jerry, he's gonna want bad dude money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you do it multiple times at the receiver position?
It's a question. I do think they're up for both of those guys. I don't think it's an either-or situation. I will say that.
If it doesn't hinder O-line acquisition, yes.
There you go.
Yeah. And I was thinking about Trey Richardson since I'm banging the drum anyway. One of the best quarterbacks at the scramble drill was Diego Pavia, so he's well acquainted with the scramble drill.
He is a scramble drill.
Yes, he's good. And how about this? Yards per route run is considered the most efficient like metric to evaluate wide receivers, right? Yards per route run. So I won't get into it, but it's kind of self-explanatory. Trey Richardson's at 2.41 yards per route run, which is really damn good. That's pretty good. I mean, I think in the Power Four it'd have been like 30 something in the Power Four. But that's really good. I think Wingo among your top wide receivers, he led you in yards per route run at 2.35. So he can go. He's one of them go daddies that Coach talks about. All right, getting back to the super chats here. Worldwide Blends, thank you for the super chats. Says, okay, hear me out. We want Coleman, but one of them big butts there. If he doesn't want to come, I'll gladly take Isaiah Horton. There's another one, Jerry. What's up with Isaiah Horton? I've heard this name thrown out there. He's expected to hit the portal.
He is. I haven't heard anything with Texas and Horton yet. We have heard Trey Richardson, but Horton just announced he's going in today. So we'll see if anything materializes there. If he goes in with a no contact tag, we'll see what happens there.
Well done, Sandman. Well done. Horton here's a hook 'em. That's fantastic right there. He's just really productive. That's what I love about Horton.
Hey, by the way, I've been watching Ole Miss Miami while I was listening to you guys. Miami's secondary is really physical too. Like their physicality is extremely impressive. They're up 17-10, 30 seconds to go in the half. Ole Miss is on the 50. I mean, Miami's physicality is super impressive. I just wanted to point that one out, even in their secondary. That's a complete physical team is what that is. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, can't deny that. I think Indiana has some of that too. They got a physical team overall, and it's reflected even in the secondary. If your secondary is physical, you know you're physical because that's not really our thing. Yeah, your front's supposed to be physical. Their front guy, your secondary physical. Oh, you guys like Georgia's got a physical secondary. Like you.
Do you have a choice but to be physical if Ray Lewis is on the sideline every game?
And
Michael Irvin. Michael
Irvin. Michael Irvin always looks like he is. I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna say what I want to say, but y'all know what I want to say.
The chat's already said it. The chat's already said it.
Already said, like, Mike, I'm like, dude, do you always own it? Like, you look like you always own it. Yeah, I love Michael Irvin, by the way. I'm not trying to diss him, but his energy level is unprecedented. Still to this day. All right, Jackie, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Jack says, thanks for taking my call, Dr. Crane. Sorry, wrong show. Nice. I like the levity. He says, do you all think this portal activity for Texas is sort of a correction, like with the stock market from the previous two off seasons? That's good. Market correction here. Could we be dealing with some of that, Jared? What are your thoughts?
I think everybody has a little bit of that. Look, if Miami hadn't changed D coordinators, I was just watching them. They had tons of that on the defensive side of the ball, and they got James Brockermeyer at center. The rest of their offensive line pieces were there, all high school recruits or a JUCO. Running back, all high school guys. Then they went quarterback, obviously. But Miami did a little bit of that before this season, especially on defense when they brought in their new D coordinator, who is a much more aggressive mindset defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are doing that. I think anybody that doesn't win the title is looking or is close to the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs, is looking at saying, what do we have to do to take those next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in games, meaning games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, who did we overpay that didn't play?
Yeah.
Who are we overpaying that didn't play, and were they worth it?
Because the reality is, I think this is forgotten sometimes in recruiting. Nick Saban signed a number one class, 6 out of 10 years, essentially? Mm-hmm. If he had 8 NFL players and 16 true contributors, that was a hell of a recruiting class. So I think sometimes we lose track of that. Makes a tremendous class. But I do think where we're going with rosters and NIL now, there isn't time for those guys that you might have missed on a little bit or need an extra year more development than you had hoped or thought. That's where I think the biggest change is.
Yep. I'm with you on that. And how long do you just sit with developing a guy? Investing in them. Like, no, I'm gonna pay you, I'm gonna keep paying you just to, develop and not necessarily contribute right away. All right. Patrick with a super chat here says, gents, what's the Cam Coleman Scuttlebutt? Thank you, Patrick. We have discussed it. I mean, just everybody's waiting. Everybody's just waiting at this point.
Hey, and, by the way, Ole Miss 57-yard field goal in the half. It's 17-13.
I mean,
that guy ripped that ball. Whoa.
I will say that the stories are really good, though. For the Ole Miss story is a really good story, and the Indiana story is a really good story. Like, they got good stories in the college ball playoffs still.
I still think the craziest thing when you watch Ole Miss play is if they go on and win a title, Lane Kiffin gets $1 million.
He does, but
that is just crazy to me. That, I mean, that's what LSU had to do to get him. But can y'all imagine getting $1 million to watch the team you coach win a national championship? That's just nuts, man. Jimmy Sexton's the one. He's the one.
Yeah, but man, doesn't it hurt your ego a little bit? They won without you. They just wanted you weren't that integral. You thought you were like, no, I'm integral, baby. They can't win it. You know what? They can't win.
There's no doubt he never thought Ole Miss would still be playing. There's no doubt about that.
There's no way. Yeah. So I think a little bit you're right. That $1 million will help. That'll help that ego. That I think is going to be a little bit damaged. The fact that they may make it all the way to the championship without Lane Kiffin. All right, Buddy Powell, Chief Big Guy, appreciate it as always. Said 10-second detour for women's basketball. We appreciate the palate cleanser there. Says they're putting BTA, that's belt to you know what, to Auburn. They're so good. Love me some Coach Vic. Yeah, and they started SEC play on a tear.
Yeah, I think it's 60-19 right now.
41.
Damn. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah, man.
That's good. So he can get the starters some rest because LSU. Here comes LSU or LSU Texas coming up.
Man, okay. Yeah, they better have the mind right. They know what that means. All right, thank you for that super chat and that palate cleanser. We appreciate it. Jeff coming back with another one says O-line, power back, linebacker, and portal sucks. Yes, Jeff, we appreciate that. And Jeff is focused on O-line. Yeah. We're not getting enough. Listen, the Cam Coleman thing is great. I love that Texas is still in it, and there's positive momentum, on the behind the scenes with that. I like they're bringing in some more wide receivers potentially with Trey Richardson. That's great. Love getting a young D lineman. You can't have too many D tackles, especially young guys with that kind of size and frame. Love the Raleek Brown, explosive back. But the O-line. They cannot fail with the O-line this cycle, Jerry. They can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I think the biggest thing for me, I'm going to keep saying this, is actually getting scheme fits and not just players. I don't like just rotating players and thinking that's going to fix anything. I'm just not a proponent of that. So I think the biggest thing is these guys have to be scheme fits for what Sark is doing. Because you can square peg round hole, guys. So that's the biggest thing for me. Is making sure these guys are fits for what Steve Sarkisian wants to do on his offense with his offense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just hope hope that doesn't make, that shrinks the talent pool.
Yeah, and no, it definitely will.
Right, because you're looking for a specific scheme fits too. Joe up next with a super chat says, different topic, Rod, Marcus, what was your welcome to the NFL moment?
Well, let me go first, Ron. I didn't play in the NFL, so I don't have one.
Back to me.
Hey, Joe, why didn't you ask me for mine?
Welcome to the NFL moment for me. Oh, man, I got hurt a lot, so I didn't have as many as I would have liked to. For me, it was probably just honestly the practice and playing with and like seeing real live like freaks. Like I played with some in college too. I mean, there was guys like Derek Johnson and then listen, Quentin Jammer and Roy Williams, but those guys were like physical freaks, and I didn't really see the mental freaks till I got to the league. Like these guys who were literally like Neo in the Matrix. They could diagnose a play based on the pre-snap clues, the formation, the down and just the personnel, then all their film study on the tendencies of this team and this formation, this situation. And in 2-3 seconds, the ball is snapped, and Dre Bly's like, yeah, they're gonna run a double slant here, and I'm just gonna jump it. And there's 70% chance they did, and he was able to jump it. Like seeing Dre Bly cover Randy Moss when physically that shouldn't be possible. Because Randy Moss is a freak of an athlete who runs a 4.2, and Dre Bly, I don't know what Dre Bly when he came out, a high 4.4 or something like that. But last time I saw him, he had love handles, guys. He had a dad bod, and I'd go out there and watch this dude cover Randy Moss and go, well, how do you do that? But it was because he understood football, leverage, angles, tendencies, and reading body language of wide receivers. So that was the freakish part. I didn't realize like that's different level. And now I was talking to guys like Adrian Phillips will tell this great story when he got to the league and he found out that safeties, like basically that defenders were watching film on double speed, like they were watching it sped up so they could watch more film. Because I only got 3 hours to watch film, but I want to watch twice as much film as my opponent. Dang. I'm gonna watch it sped up. So he said watching film for the first like 3 months or something where he was watching with veterans, he didn't know what the hell he was looking at because his brain was like adjusting to watching film sped up like that. Yeah. And he said after a while, he was able to like see some of the same stuff they were seeing. It literally slowed down for him. And that's how he started watching film. But think about how much more film he watched than I was able to watch back then because I wasn't doing that.
That's how I listen to podcasts.
Yeah, people listen to podcasts. Like, people watching film like that. And like, oh yeah. So you watch 2 hours of film and you watch 4 hours of it basically because you were that's the part I didn't realize. That's what I was like blown away. The students of the game. And I didn't realize how much I thought I was a student of the game. Turns out, dude, I was a scrub still in terms of the football intellect and the football acumen that these guys are acquiring on a day-to-day basis. As their bodies deteriorate, their football acumen just continues to grow. And you just sit down with them for a while. You end up sitting down with a Champ Bailey and sitting down with a Warren Sapp and just talk ball with them for like 30, 40 minutes. You go, damn. Or Jerry Rice in the sauna. I ain't gonna tell you, that's a different story. But you know what I mean? And then you sit there and you go, okay, now I didn't realize like I don't know ball at all. I'm still learning through the infancy of my education of ball, even when you got to the league. So anyway, went on too long, but that's my take. All right. Ann Kerr says, what are the chances Bo Barnes comes back? Jerry.
Don't have that answer now. I think there's supposed to be a conversation. It was supposed to be a conversation potential this morning. I think it's been bumped back. So we're waiting to hear.
Yeah. I love that Texas now is open to, and like I said, I know it's not official, guys, in the portal. Sometimes they announce it and they don't actually put the name in, all that kind of stuff. But that Sark has, it's clear they don't care about guys going to the portal and coming back. Like that's.
Yeah, I think the one thing, I think defensively is the big thing for me is since Muschamp, he came to Texas after he was hired and he observed a couple of days of practice just to get his eyes on the Texas defensive players. Then he observed one day at the Citrus Bowl just to get one more look at those guys. And then January 1, it's at 11:59 p.m., it's portal time. So they go straight into portal. So I think defensively, because of Muschamp's hire, when that hire happened and he needed to get eyes on this defense and look at these guys and see what he had, I think that makes this different in this cycle with Derek Williams, who'd already announced he was planning to leave, but never went in the portal. He was planning to leave. I think he gets some leeway with these guys. And Sark is smart. You can't always hold to that. You have to adapt. Can you imagine if you were Will Muschamp and you get over here and a couple of guys jump in the portal and he's like, yeah, I need to go get those guys. And Sark said, nope, I have a policy. Then you look like Dabo. You look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The policy, you have to adapt. And Will Muschamp coming in needed time to see what the parts looked like when he looked under the hood defensively.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And start making some decisions. All right, who's going in the portal? What does this all look like? What do I need to piece together to give Texas the best defense I can give them next year? So Sark had to be lenient, and I'm glad he was, because that would have been a Dabo moment for him if he was not.
Right.
Well, I like that. Yeah, good point. And Sarkis said that, right? He said that he evolves. Like, I adapt and evolve. That I hope he is. That's a great point about Muschamp probably being the influence there.
And by the way, if I would take it a step further. One thing that Texas should learn through this, they went after guys who had coaching changes, and those kids were in the portal and visited them and went back to where they were. Sometimes for less money. So I think you have to continue to adapt.
Yep. All right,
if somebody is a worthy player, I don't think you just let that guy walk.
Yeah, you can't treat all the players the same anymore. That's not
right.
That is literally the definition of this day and age. You cannot treat all the players the same. All right, Brett with the next super chat here says, if we land Coleman, trust me, Rod, the helmet will be going on with my future super chat. Woo, I appreciate that, Brett. You know what? I might just put it on, bro. You might not even have to throw the super chat. I might come on with it. We definitely going live if Kevin Coleman commits right then and there. Like, it's boom. And it's gonna be one of them lives where everybody's gonna be on. They're gonna be the whole OTF staff. We'll be like 7-8 screens. Because we all gonna be celebrating that moment. So thank you, Brett. Appreciate it. And man, CB here says happy birthday to Dee Lewis, old school. Wow. Jared Norton, Jaden Blue. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that. And Colin Simmons. Rod, you played with Dee Lewis. He was a beast. Great job, guys. So thank you, CB, for the super chat. Dee Lewis, happy B-Day. Yeah, Dee Lewis was, man, I think he wasn't he a running back coming out of high school?
He was a fullback, and let me tell you, I watched him play 3 or 4 times, and he wore those big pads, that neck roll, rolling downhill on your ass, fullback. You better step into the hole.
Yeah, no doubt.
And when you step into the hole, you better be playing through your hips if you're tackling that dude. If you were not, you're flat back looking up.
Yeah.
As he stepped over you.
Yeah, he wore that neck roll as a linebacker too. At least in Texas, he wore it as a linebacker. So, you don't see. Is there any linebacker with a neck roll anymore?
Somebody needs to bring that back. Derek Johnson is the fastest guy I've ever seen with a neck roll on a field.
And then we all wore it because DJ had it. Me and B. Rob had it.
That was the way to go back in the day. Did you wear it for safety or did you wear it for fashion?
I wore it because DJ wore it. I went to Chip and I was like, hey, can I get one of those? And he was like, sure, Big Daddy. I was like, all right, cool.
Your Chip voice was pretty good too. That was a good Chip impersonation. All right, last super chat here. Ty Haywood, previous Texas offer from Denton, said, have you guys talked about him as a possible fit for Texas?
Texas didn't pursue him out of high school. They might have offered him when he was younger, but they never really pursued him. He didn't have any interest in Texas. So I think there would have to be a big change on – now it's in the NIL era, but I think Texas needs experienced players. I'm not saying they won't take somebody and still as a developmental guy for a year potentially, but I think they're focused on guys that are for sure going to help them.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Air Helm. We appreciate that. Let's thank a couple more sponsors before we get out of here. Let's thank our friends over at SeatGeek. We appreciate SeatGeek. And if you have any needs for tickets for concerts or festivals or football, basketball games, no matter what it is, our friends over at SeatGeek, they have you covered. They are the #1 rated ticketing app in the world. Also, the most trusted ticketing app with more than 35 million downloads. Whether you're talking about college football for 2026, some of those big games coming up, the non-conference schedule, or you're talking about, Texas football games for 2026, whether you're talking about NBA games or maybe the NFL playoff games that are coming up. You have World Cup that is coming up on the horizon here as well. You can get all those tickets over at SeatGeek. And SeatGeek has an easy system rated. They rate tickets on a scale from 1 to 10. So if you're getting a good deal. They give you green dots. That means good. The red dots means bad. That means you're getting bad value there. So plus every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, they have a great deal for the OTF fans. You see that code right there on your screen, OTF10. If you use that code at checkout, you get 10% off your your next set of tickets over at SeatGeek. That's OTF10 for 10% off of your next set of tickets over at SeatGeek. So make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Also, let's thank our friends over at South Point. We appreciate our friends at South Point Dodge for being our lead sponsor on tonight's program. With over 600 vehicles in stock right now, folks, South Point Dodge, they have it all. Whether you need a car, whether you need a truck, you need an SUV, something new, something used, trade in. Our friends at South Point Dodge, they pride themselves on being Austin's automotive everything. Nothing runs like Texas football. Nothing runs like a Ram. South Point Dodge is Austin's Ram headquarters as well. And right now they have huge savings on Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, plus exclusive perks for On Texas Football listeners. 90 days to make your first payment, and they'll ship that ride to you no matter where you are in the great state of Texas or beyond. And like I said before, they got lots of different vehicles. So whether you need a workhorse or a weekend warrior, our friends at South Point Dodge have you covered. Go visit them off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com. I appreciate them. Real quick, couple of questions here before we get out of here. Jerry from Longhorn G24. Any update on how the visit from the Cal linebacker is going?
Just arrived today, so I mean they're just now a few hours into it, so I don't have an update now. It's a 2-day visit. I think the big thing, and I'll keep saying this, the big thing with all these guys is what's the next trip? Is there a next trip? He went in with a no contact tag. Does that absolutely mean it's only Texas? No, it does not. That's just him saying, I'm not open to anybody. I already have a pretty good feel. Question is, does he show up on another campus? But I don't have an update on how the visit today is going. We're just a few hours into that.
Okay. Super chat popped up here. Sorry about that, Billy. I might have missed that one. I apologize. Says, why are we giddy about landing high school recruits and then discount them when they get to the 40 acres for portal potentials?
I think there's two things going on right now. I think one, I do think you're going to start to see some smaller rosters from an NIL perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to make decisions on some players that were paid well from an NIL perspective coming out of high school that may be a third-team player. Okay, at that point, you're not going to continue to pay them what you did out of high school. So if you do that, the majority of those guys are going to leave, or a lot of those guys are going to leave. Because in this the deal with, and this is what happens now with rev share, and we've talked about this, Marcus and Rod. If you're a second or third team guy at a major university, the lower P4s can now compete to take your depth from a rev share perspective.
Yeah.
Those guys have options from an NIL perspective, where in the past couple of years before rev share, they didn't really have that same option. They had to go down to G5. They had to be willing to go down. I think the big thing now is that, all right, if school X goes to a third-team player, even if he has a lot of upside, and say, look, we paid you this, we can only do this, and it's 50% less or something, or 60, whatever a school decides, then that guy can go make more somewhere else now that there's rev share and probably move up the depth chart.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think some of this is coming from. And look, I just think, Billy, I think this is the part of the ongoing process we're going through in college football. I think we're going to start to see with the major schools less high school signees. I don't think they're going to invest as much in the high school guys. I think you're going to go to smaller rosters, which means smaller high school classes, continue to fill the majority of your needs from the portal, while also still wanting to have high school players, and the really good ones are going to have a lot of leverage. And you do want developmental players, but there's going to be a timeline to that. And I think the prices are going to go down for some of those guys.
All right. Thanks for that, Jared. Catch the wave throughout a super chat here. We appreciate it. Does Texas need Ole Miss to lose tonight so some of their players enter the transfer portal before it closes?
That's more for LSU than Texas.
Yeah.
But look, Ole Miss has kept the majority of these kids. I mean, right now, Ole Miss, Keywan Lacey. There's been a number of other guys that have said they're staying. So
Chalmers is trying to get another year, isn't he?
Trying to get another year. Yep. The whole key for me, I'm watching with Ole Miss, is that left tackle, left guard, and center. What do they do? What do they truly do? I haven't. Somebody might know in the chat if any of those guys have agreed to terms to come back. But I'm watching the left side of that offensive line.
Yeah. All right. Last one from Daniel says Tech needs to be audited. If not, I'm opening Rod Babers Learning Center in Austin to sponsor the Texas Fun. Yeah, is it one team that we know has found some kind of loophole or program is Tech. They figured something out. They got their own system that they're operating by because they seem to be. They have less limitations, it seems like, than other programs. We shall see. All right. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for the questions. Jerry, thank you for sitting in as well. Marcus, great stuff as always. Matthew behind the scenes is the real MVP, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody works harder than Matthew. He's the heart and soul of OTF. So if we missed any of your questions, you can direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning at 8:15. It'll be Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton. And also we'll have your Friday live stream at 3 p.m. Of course, with myself. I believe Jerry's going to be on there as well. So if you got some questions or anything breaks in between, then just keep it tuned here to OTF. Also, don't forget about our special to try to keep up with this madness. $1, all right, for 1 month of coverage for Portal Madness. It's a limited time offer. You can subscribe at ontexasfootball.com, folks, and we'll take care of you. It's a great way to preview all the great content that Jerry and CJ and Jeff and the entire team. Blake Monroe's part of the team as well, and Bobby. They do a really good job of putting a lot of stuff on the site to make sure that we talk about a lot on this platform, but it's a fraction of what is covered at ontexasfootball.com. All right, thanks to Matthew and for Jerry and for my man Marcus. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns and God bless the Shipleys, baby.
Yep.
Thanks, Matthew.